All right, welcome to Hannity. Busy breaking news night. Disturbing news from Afghanistan. 4 dangerous Gitmo detainees released by Obama and Biden in 2014. They have now been appointed to key positions in the new Islamic emirate known as Afghanistan. Great job, Joe and Barack. They joined several other notable terrorists at the top of the Taliban's new government. Now these radical Islamists are holding our fellow Americans hostage, blocking them from leaving the country, sending death squads door to door, hunting for anyone that helped America, that has Western ties in the last 20 years. But tonight, the Biden administration, they are more concerned with the Taliban's lack of inclusivity. I wish I was kidding, but I am not. It's day 25. Americans abandoned behind enemy lines and held hostage.
With regard to the composition of this government or interim government, it includes people who have very challenging track records.
Allowing the Taliban to pick its most wanted, its top draft picks out of Guantanamo to now see them in charge of what is quickly becoming a terrorist superstate is just a slap in the face.
So I guess we shouldn't be surprised when now terrorists, people who have been let go and everything else, are running the very organization that this State Department and this administration is trying to negotiate with. It makes absolutely no sense.
Every time I don't think this situation can get any worse, it does.
Americans held hostage, abandoned behind enemy lines. Day 25.
25 days, Americans held hostage, abandoned behind enemy lines. Let me say this one more time. All of this could have been prevented easily. From April to May, from May to June to July to August, we had months to withdraw all of our people. We had a duty to halt. We saw the Taliban advancing. We could have easily maintained control of Bagram Air Base. We could have aggressively bombed the Taliban with drones, and we could have expedited the withdrawal of Americans and their families, and also our Afghan allies, and the billions of dollars worth of military equipment while we had full control. Biden was warned daily by the intel community about the deteriorating situation. He chose to lie to this country, lie to all of us about the well-trained Afghan military. They were all getting their asses kicked and the entire world was watching. And of course, he encouraged Afghanistan's president, the one that abandoned the country with a lot of money, to lie to the world. And now the fate of our fellow Americans rests in the hands of terrorists, including Islamists, once imprisoned at Guantanamo Bay, freed in exchange for a former Army deserter by Biden and Obama. In 2015, during his announcement speech, then candidate Trump predicted that this Bergdahl Taliban prison swap, he predicted it would end in a disaster. Just like years earlier, he predicted Osama bin Laden is a bad guy. That wasn't going to end well. Take a look.
The people negotiating it don't have a clue. Our president doesn't have a clue. He's a bad negotiator. He's the one that did Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl. They get 5 killer terrorists that everybody wanted over there. We get Bergdahl. We get a traitor. We get a no-good traitor. And they get the 5 people that they wanted for years. And those people are now back on the battlefield trying to kill us.
Donald Trump was right. 2 years later, Bo Bergdahl, he pleaded guilty to desertion and misbehavior before the enemy. And now 4 out of the 5 Gitmo detainees who were exchanged for Bergdahl, they are in leadership positions now atop the new Taliban government, which, by the way, will swear themselves in, I believe, on the 20th anniversary of September 11, 2001. And as we first reported last night, these terrorists are blocking private chartered flights from extracting our own American citizens. And according to Biden's own Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, our ability to get those planes in the sky is pretty limited without the control of an airport or boots on the ground. Watch this.
As of now, the Taliban are not permitting the charter flights to depart. They claim that some of the passengers do not have the required documentation. While there are limits to what we can do without personnel on the ground, without an airport, with normal security procedures in place, we are working to do everything in our power to support those flights and to get them off the ground.
And the State Department said that even if those private chartered planes get permission to land in a country, they can't come to the U.S. That's not an option. How is that possible when we have U.S. citizens on board? But if they get permission, but that permission is predicated on permission from our State Department, the answer will be no. Explain that to me. Biden said we had all the leverage. Where's the leverage, Joe? If only we held on to Bagram or kept forces on the ground or used Predator drones to push back the Taliban, or speeding up the withdrawal until every American was out, every Afghan ally was out, all our military equipment was out. None of that happened, and you had months watching this unfold. And now Blinken seems less concerned with Americans left behind, but he's more concerned with the lack, get this, the lack of diversity and inclusion in the Taliban's new government. When the Taliban was in power the last time, girls couldn't go to school, women couldn't go to work, they were subjugated to men. Young girls were taken as sex slaves and wives by Taliban fighters. Do we think they changed? I doubt it. Take a look.
Yesterday, the Taliban named a new interim government. We're assessing the announcement, but despite professing that a new government would be inclusive, the announced list of names consists exclusively of individuals who are members of the Taliban or their close associates, and no women. It certainly does not meet the test of inclusivity, and it includes people who have very challenging track records.
A stunning lack of inclusivity from a terrorist organization that we already know enslaves women, subjugates women, and forces young girls against their will to marry Taliban fighters, and they murder musicians and artists and anybody they don't like. Does that make sense? These are terrorists, Mr. Blinken. How stupid are you? They're whipping women and children with wires at the airport. They're hunting down female Afghan police officers. They're murdering them right in the street. You see the reports. You know the truth. They helped plan the 9/11 terrorist attacks that took out nearly 3,000 Americans, 2,977, if my memory serves me correctly. The Biden administration is worried over the lack of gender diversity in the Taliban's new government. Are you really that ignorant? Sadly, it appears the answer is yes. A brand new ad from Trump's Save America PAC highlights the insane level of incompetence, really just touches the surface. Take a look.
How did President Biden get this so wrong?
They clearly have the capacity to sustain the government in place.
This has been a disaster.
The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army.
It looks like Saigon 2.0 to me.
The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
This tragedy was completely preventable.
We told you Joe Biden was not up to the job. Now we're seeing the devastating consequences of his incompetence. Biden vacationed while Afghanistan collapsed. American military equipment was plundered. And now America weeps over the lives sacrificed due to Biden's surrender.
And Joe Biden was still telling us one of the best trained armies in the world, one of the best trained militaries in the world, after the Taliban had the Afghan military army in full collapse and had taken over 60% of the country. How do you get it that wrong when you know it's wrong? Maybe it had something to do with his steep cognitive decline. Joe Biden seems to have a hard time speaking, thinking, walking, and doing any basic function at this point for himself. So his staff of social justice warriors, they seem to be calling the shots. But don't take my word for it. Just look at this other strange moment from Biden earlier today. Take a look.
Now, I'm supposed to stop and walk out of the room here. I'm going to stop. But with your permission, I'm going to walk into the room because I want to say hello to all. Thank you.
And I know we don't call them tornadoes anymore either. It stopped being funny a long time ago. Now hundreds of Americans are held hostage. 13 brave American heroes are dead because of that guy's incompetence. One Gold Star mother invited former President Trump to her son's funeral, not Joe Biden. You have all these 9/11 families saying, don't come to our memorials on 9/11. And this mother says that Joe Biden has blood on his hands. In a social media post, she called Biden a weak human being and a traitor. Joe Biden truly is a weak human being in every way, physically, mentally, morally, and now a vast majority of Americans seem to agree. A new Democratic-leaning YouGov Economist poll has Biden's approval rating now below 40%, with an oversampling of Democrats of 10%.